After GameStop didn't work out, I really didn't work that much in college. In my junior and senior year, I did some odd jobs. I did some tutoring, but nothing like working a proper retail job. After GameStop didn't work out, I had it pretty good, so I can't complain. But as I was going through college, where I went, they kind of gave us a sense of arrogance and entitlement that we deserved a good job because we went to a top 25, top 50, depending on where you looked, business school. So I kind of kept that sense of entitlement. And I applied for a job with some random marketing company. I'll go over more on those later and the dangers of them, but I ended up interviewing and getting a job with Aflac, selling insurance. That was my first job at a company. I was like, yes, I got a job. So what if it's straight commission sales? It's going to be great. And I should have known better because it was not great. The manager was nice. It's just he wouldn't train me because he just didn't have the time. He worked 7 days a week and he was busy worrying about people selling stuff and didn't really have the time for new agents. And the agent he wanted to train me, she was making more money than God because that insurance is supplemental, so it's really kind of a hard sell in certain places. And you just had to travel to businesses, and I didn't have any training, and they still expected me to come to meetings, and they'd talk in the meetings about all the sales they did, and I'd just be like, oh, I look good in my suit. And they never trained me, and hell, to my knowledge, I don't even know if they knew I left, because eventually I just got tired. They weren't training me. I wasn't making any money. I was making a 45-minute drive 3 or 4 days a week to not get paid any money, and couldn't get the manager on the phone. It was just all kinds of awful. So I was glad I got rid of that job, and then tried going to grad school, but that didn't work out, and just looking for work in the heart of the recession that it was just hard to find a position, and I just thought entry-level jobs were beneath me because minimum wage, you can't get your own place, you can't move out, and I was living at home. This is all kinds of awful. And then through a friend of a friend, I happened to apply for a job at Golfsmith and get it. And a little bit about that place, it was a golf store. If you don't play golf, just imagine a retail store that sells golf clubs and golf accessories, kind of like Hank Hill at Strickland Propane. The only thing is, the business could have been run better. It was like founded family owned, and then they sold out. And of course, when they sold out, it never works out. And golf clubs with the margins were bad. Like new clubs cost $400, and the cost of those clubs is usually $300, $280. So when you sell them, you're like, oh, that's an easy $100 profit, but they couldn't have been making that much money after wages and everything and upkeep of the stores. You're probably making $20 a club. And if they didn't sell, you got that inventory on hand. So I think that's why a few years later they went out of business. Not because I worked there, just because all that inventory on hand, they didn't know what to do with it. The manager was a nice man. He was a decent enough fella. Just he was one of those people that he'd been in retail for 100 years and he liked it, and his way was the highway, but he was really kind of lazy, in all honesty. He didn't want to work on the weekends. He didn't want to work on Sundays, but sometimes he had to come in for a lunch break to do somebody's lunch break and stuff like that. And I was a floor supervisor, and it was easy retail, in all honesty, putting out products, fitting people for golf clubs. That part was fun, but the pay was okay, but I was commuting about 80 miles one way. So I was lucky my car was good on gas, and gas is a lot cheaper. It's about half what it was now. And you got commission, so I can't complain there. It's just the commission was so awful. You got 1%. So that $400 driver, you got $4. And the coworkers were all right. My opposite I worked with, he was a pain in the ass because he was always forever trying to throw people under the bus. And I don't like shit like that. I don't like scheming people, looking for drama, looking for trouble. I just want to go to work and just do my job and go home. I don't want to deal with that nonsense, but there's always people that will make you deal with that. And when I was at that place, there's two stories I want to tell. I worked with a guy named Alan. Now, Alan was one of those people that he did, instead of working one full-time job, he did about 15 or 20 part-time jobs and side hustles. There's somebody at every job that does this. They'll work part-time and then they'll have another job. They'll cut grass, wash dogs. They'll do everything under the sun. He was like that. He had his own business. He drove a school bus. He worked there part-time. He did something else part-time. And we had a guy that came in regularly. There's regulars at every retail place. Like I told you before about GameStop. Golfsmith was no different. This guy came in all the time, and he got a job at a pest control place, and he'd come in bragging about how, oh yeah, I've been there 2 months. I just basically run the place. I'm emperor of the pest control. I'm just awesome. Y'all should see how great I am at spraying chemicals in a general direction. I mean, there's just nobody like me. And Alan bought into it. He was like, well, hey, are y'all hiring? Because I guess he was looking for a part-time job, or maybe full-time. The guy's like, yeah, man, since I run the place, I work tomorrow. Just come by tomorrow and talk to my manager, and I'll hook you up. So, yeah, I run the place, blah, blah, blah. And Alan was serious. He really meant he wanted to go by. So he went by, and I didn't see him for a few days later because he worked part-time. I said, oh, did you go by the pest control place? He said, yeah. I went by, and the guy wasn't working because I came in and asked. I was like, hey, we'll just call him Joe. Is Joe working? No, Joe's off today. He said, so that was strike one. And then I go to talk to the manager. Hey, Joe said you're hiring. He's like, no, we're not really hiring, man. We're just taking applications. You can feel free to fill one out, but we're not taking anybody right now. And he's like, oh. So he said, yeah, it was a waste of my damn time. And of course, the guy came in. He's like, well, Joe, I came by your work and you weren't working. They said they weren't hiring. Oh, who did you talk to? Who did you talk to? He said, I talked to so-and-so. He's like, oh, no, you talked to the wrong person. You talked to the manager. You're really supposed to talk to the manager. The manager does the hiring. That manager you talk to, he's just bad news. So poor old Alan had to waste his time. And the last one I'll tell you is, this is the definitive retail customer. I have never seen anything like this. And if you have, just let me know. Because there's just been nothing like this. We had a used club section, and with the used clubs, it was stuff we traded in, so we knew how much we paid for it. It's basically what kept us in business. Similar to GameStop, we didn't give you very much money for a used club, but you could buy a used club, and it was nice because golf's an expensive hobby, so for everything there's a used club. Like I had a buddy that traded in his old kind of shitty clubs, and we didn't give much for it, and someone bought them the same day. So that was nice. But another nice thing is we had a little leeway on the price. You could come in and you could dicker. So of course, people were going to jump all over that if they can get a deal. And for the most part, I really didn't give a shit because I got 0.33% commission on used clubs. So I was not excited in general about sales, and I just didn't really care because $10 is, you're talking pennies on my paycheck. So a guy came in and he picked out a club and it was $150. He's like, well, What's the best price you can do on that? I looked it up, and I think we paid 40, 50 bucks for it. It's like, all right, man, get you a good deal, 120 bucks, get you a solid 20% off, just 120 plus tax. Like, no, I don't want to pay tax. Can you do 110? Yeah, whatever. We still make money on it. I'll take it. Sure, 110. And he leaves after he buys it. And a few days later, he comes back in. And that was the drawback to the used clubs. People could just basically go play 2 or 3 rounds with it, or even a damn tournament, come back and return it, because it was lax. He came back and returned. He's like, oh man, you didn't like it? I mean, we can take a look at something else. I wanted to help him. I wasn't too brokenhearted about my 35 cents I lost. And I was like, oh, you got your receipt? He's like, yeah, I want to get 150 for it. I said, huh? So that one time I said, yeah, I want to get 150 back. I said, well, sir, you only paid 110. I can get you that plus the tax. He said, no, y'all had it for 150. I want to get the 150 for it. So he haggled the price down and purchased it, and then wanted to bring it back and get the original purchase price he didn't want to pay. And he expected that this was just okay. And don't you know, when people ask for ridiculous stuff like that, they act like it's the simplest request in the world, and you're the weird one for thinking it's weird. And he's insistent, so I go grab my manager, and my manager's like, what's going on? I said, well, he bought this used club, and he wants to get a little more money for it. And he goes to talk to him. He's like, sir, what's going on? You want to return it? We'd be glad to return it. No, I want to get the 150 for it. That's what I'm entitled to. That's what y'all had it for sale for, so that's what I should get. He said, sir, if we gave you $40 more than what you paid for, we'd be out of business. And he didn't care. He was quite insistent. And even though we ended up returning the club, he didn't let it go. He went to the district manager. He got in touch with him. He went over his head. He truly believed he could get $150. He should. But he couldn't understand it. And to this day, he is the definitive Karen of retail customers I've had. Because I don't know if they ever resolved it, because he kept going all over about $30 odd. It is like nothing I've ever seen.